que o presidente do Zimbábue, Roberto Mugabe, nas Nações Unidas, na 70ª reunião, durante a intervenção, ele olhou para a plateia e disse: "Nós não somos gays", de forma muito contundente, ousada, defendendo que a África tem os seus próprios costumes, tem a sua tradição. Para dizer que, ao sairmos desta conferência, eu acredito que nós, africanos, teremos a ousadia, a capacidade de defender a nossa cultura, a nossa família, a nossa soberania. Excelências, hoje tenho uma missão que é especial para mim. É a primeira vez que eu participo nestas conferências, mas gostaria, na verdade, primeiro de saudar esta conferência em nome do Parlamento moçambicano e da Presidente do Parlamento moçambicano, a doutora Margarida Talapa. Ela saúda esta conferência e deseja sucessos.
Translation, please. We are off. We are not following.
É com enorme honra que assumo a moderação deste painel de elevada relevância na 4ª Conferência Inter-Parlamentar Africana sobre Família, Soberania e Valores. O tema que nos ocupa, Carta sobre os Valores Africanos, Família, Soberania, Conteúdo, Estrutura, Obrigações e Aplicação e Monitorização. Constitui um exercício histórico. Well, we have problems in English. English? It's okay? But now we are waiting for English. Já está? Ok, obrigado. Vou continuar. Eu dizia que o tema que nos ocupa, Carta sobre os Valores Africanos, Família, Soberania, Conteúdo, Estrutura, Obrigações, Aplicação e Monitorização, constitui um exercício histórico para o nosso continente. Urge definir com clareza os nossos próprios valores, consolidar a família como célula fundamental da sociedade e afirmar a nossa soberania cultural e política frente às pressões externas. Esta carta é, acima de tudo, um instrumento de afirmação da nossa identidade e do nosso futuro. Para nos guiar nesta análise técnica e estratégica, contamos com um painel de excelência composto por 3 ilustres apresentadores. Primeiro, a doutora Angela Duawena Aboange. Aboange, is correct? Yes. Aboange. Renomada advogada, ganesa e mestre em Direito pela Georgetown University Law Center, é uma das vozes mais influentes no ativismo de gênero na África Ocidental, com mais de 3 décadas de impacto legislativo e fundadora da The Arc Foundation. A doutora Angela irá abrir o painel analisando o conteúdo e a estrutura da carta, seguindo pelo Dr. Musa Shibwana, doutor em Estudos de Desenvolvimento pela Unisa e especialista sênior em Políticas Sociais e Ação Humanitária, com mais de 20 anos de experiência, e atua como conselheiro técnico sênior da Comissão da União Africana e trará a sua vasta experiência para abordar as obrigações, a aplicação, monitorização do documento e, finalmente, o representante, que é o embaixador Tuum Amoar do Ghana, acho que estou certo, também estou a apresentar aqui, que foi eleita comissária responsável pelo Departamento de Saúde, Assuntos Humanitários e Desenvolvimento Social, é ex-embaixadora da República do Ghana, junto de Djibouti, Eritreia, Etiópia, Somália e Sudão do Sul, bem como representante permanente junto da União Africana e da Comissão Econômica das Nações Unidas para a África. Anteriormente, exerceu funções como diretora do Gabinete de Economia, Comércio e Investimento do Ministério dos Negócios Estrangeiros e Integração Regional do Ghana. Desempenhou igualmente diversos cargos na Embaixada do Ghana em Washington, D.C., Estados Unidos da América, incluindo os de ministra plenipotenciária responsável por projetos governamentais, chefe da missão interna e ministra plenipotenciária e chefe da chancelaria. Ao longo da sua carreira diplomática, ocupou ainda vários outros cargos de elevada responsabilidade, nomeadamente diretora do Departamento do Protocolo do Estado no Ghana, ministra conselheira de alta comissária interina na Alta Comissão do Ghana em Canberra, Austrália, diretora adjunta do Gabinete de Planeamento de Políticas e Investigação do Ministério dos Negócios Estrangeiros, bem como conselheira e chefe da chancelaria na Missão Permanente do Ghana, junto às Nações Unidas em Genebra, Suíça, entre outras funções de liderança. Como podem ver, temos um painel bastante competente e forte para debater esses assuntos que nós temos como agenda. E quero iniciar, quero pedir à doutora Angelina para que ela possa apresentar o seu tema e vamos ouvir. Ela é bastante competente. Muito obrigado. Uma salva de palmas para ela.
Thank you very much. This is the first time I've heard my profile being read in a language I can't understand, and for a moment I was wondering what it was all about, but thank you very much. Yes. So, all honorables, all protocols observed, my job is to look at the technical perspective on this charter, and because the time is so limited, I won't bore you with all the details. It will be a bit boring because you're looking at technical stuff, but that's okay. I'll skip some and give the presentation to the organizers. Basically, a charter is a foundational legal or constitutional instrument that establishes rights, obligations, principles, institutions, or governance frameworks. Some charters function as treaties and become legally binding when ratified. And usually ratification is done by our parliaments. But beyond their function as constitutive documents, they serve as normative frameworks that define standards of conduct expected of state parties. So a charter may be programmatic, which sets out objectives, principles, or operational, specifying concrete obligations, institutional mechanisms, and enforcement procedures. Okay, so usually when states come together and agree to do charters, they want to create a durable, authoritative framework so that they can bind themselves by it. But not all charters are automatically binding. It depends on the content and the intent behind the charters. Some are just constitutive instruments with treaty status. And as I said, if it will bind us, then it depends on the state's consent, okay, the states that are ratifying, the states that ratify, and the applicable international law principles that will guide charters and documents like charters. So how are they made? Usually through political initiative. There's an expert drafting process, intergovernmental negotiations, then adoption by states, signatures, ratifications, and then entry into force after the ratifications. Okay, so there's an agenda that is set. There's technical drafting, state consultations, legal reviews, some of what I'm doing, adoption by conference, and then ratification and domestic implementation, monitoring, reporting, and all of that. A typical structure of a charter comes with a title. I don't know how many of you have seen the current draft charter that we are looking at. Title, preamble, definitions, objectives, rights and obligations, institutional framework, enforcement provisions, monitoring provisions, amendment clauses, and then final provisions. So this is the typical. Yes, you can go to the next slide. The typical structure of a charter. And so our charter must, kind of conform to this kind of structure. A charter becomes enforceable when states ratify it, when domestic legislation incorporates it, when it has an implementation and enforcing mechanism, when monitoring bodies are monitoring, and when courts or commissions interpret the charter, and when political and diplomatic accountability mechanisms also operate. So this is just a process that we are in right now. There's a lot more to do with regard to the charter at hand. And usually charter enforcement mechanisms include courts, commissions, treaty bodies, state reporting mechanisms, peer review mechanisms, domestic court decisions, because they have to come into the very countries that have signed that particular document, and then sometimes political sanctions and diplomatic pressure. Then there are monitoring mechanisms like periodic state reports, independent experts, monitoring commissions, investigative procedures. Special rapporteurs are sometimes appointed to do work on specific aspects of the document. And then civil society plays its role by supplying what we call shadow reports. I've been involved in drafting some of those shadow reports, and it can be very interesting what a state will say and what civil society would say in the same meeting. So these are all important aspects of charters and how they are enforced. Now, interpretation of charters is very important because charters come under international law, generally speaking, under international law. And we know at international law there are different levels. There's the international level, there's the regional level, there's even sub-regional levels, and then there are the national levels. Okay, so interpretation is usually guided by certain principles adopted under certain conventions. For example, there's the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties that guides all interpretation of international, regional law treaties, instruments, whatever you call it. And the Vienna Convention has several provisions that talk about how you can interpret texts in charters. Okay, and usually also when a charter's provision comes for interpretation, they look at the ordinary meaning of the text, the context and object of the charter, subsequent state practice, and the jurisprudence of courts and commissions, what the courts and commissions have said about that particular provision or similar related provisions regarding a particular issue. And so we should also understand that beyond what we are doing here and the processes that will follow thereafter, we have some of these bridges to cross. Also, under international legal principles of interpretation, under the Vienna Convention, good faith interpretation. Okay, so what you have said is what you must do. Simple. Textual interpretation, there's also the contextual part of it, purpose-based interpretation, and then they would also look at harmonization with other international obligations. Okay. So when we look at our own charter, I wish that everybody will have a text of it, but as you go through, and we don't have time to do all of this, what we must be asking ourselves, are there issues with content? For example, sitting in this conference for the last 2 days, even with the last presentation that was made by Honorable Jatta Sam George, you could see that issues around AI, the new technologies and so on has not been strongly captured in our charter. Okay, so that's one thing I picked up immediately from that presentation. Okay, so content issues, possible treaty conflicts, that is existing treaties and future treaties, how they conflict with the current charter that we have, which we have to, of course, improve, and then constitutional compatibility with state constitutions. That's a big one. Already, we know, for example, that South Africa already has provisions in its own constitution concerning SOGI and so on and so forth. So how would South Africa and states that have domestic legislation on these things, how would they view this charter and what would they do? These are things we need to think about, anticipate, and know what we'll do. Human rights interpretation disputes. This came up yesterday, for example. And enforcement limitations. In international law, for example, if you draft a charter and there are no sanctions, a lot of countries will ratify it very quickly because states don't like obligations with sanctions, unfortunately. Okay, so some charters would come with sanctions when states fail to meet obligations under their own charters. We should ask ourselves whether our charter has provisions concerning sanctions. I didn't pick that yet in our charter. State sovereignty concerns come up, and then possible ratification challenges and how to minimize what they call clawback clauses. Okay, so the nations have decided this is the way we should go, and the charter says, I am taking it back. Okay, so that's what they call clawback clauses, and how the general system looks at what they consider clawback clauses, and the way in which commissions and treaty bodies who are given the mandate to interpret these things usually treat clawback clauses. So I'm mentioning all these things so that for the drafters who are here, especially, we need to take into consideration these things in making sure that the African Charter on Family, Sovereignty, and Values would gain the kind of traction it needs as a normative document. So what are my comments, very quickly, on the process of the draft? As a political initiative, it has started well with African parliaments who are the representatives of the people, and indeed there's a lot of discussion around having the Inter-Parliamentary this convention actually become part of the AU architecture. There must be some kind of lobbying towards that as well, because these are the representatives of the people and they are doing things among themselves. And it's also drawn in a significant number of countries. The draft is out. It has set out objectives and principles. It has specified concrete obligations, institutional mechanisms, and enforcement procedures are in it. So what about the agenda setting? The draft, I say, is ready, but almost, because from this conference, it obviously has to be improved even better, and is ready to be adopted by this conference and forwarded to the AU and its chairperson. So there's a whole process in that for AU adoption processes to be kicked into motion. What is my comment on the structure? The structure is well laid out in conformity with structures of charters and similar documents. So the structure appears to me to be very fine. What about the content? Well articulated documents. The charters are usually allowed to address a wide range of related subjects, and this one has taken family and sovereignty over 6 areas plus values and put it together in an interrelated manner. So it is allowed. And then another comment is that it's quite lengthy if you compare it to other existing charters, but it appears necessarily so because of the subject matter that is being dealt with. But however, it would have been nice if we can get shortened definitional sections, because it really goes into defining what it means by sexuality, what it means by comprehensive sexuality, what this means and all of that. And if we could make it shorter but not lose the meaning and intent, it would help in its readability and so on and so forth. So that's some work to do there, possibly. I also think it's quite radical in intent and purpose, a clear breakaway not from the international or AU architecture per se. I'm saying this very carefully, but from the interpretive actions and provisions in instruments at those levels that promote an evolving or pseudo-rights agenda. So if you read the documents, you find out that there are concerns about how this stands, like a breakaway from the AU architecture and even the international, frameworks. But I am emphasizing that it's not a complete breakaway, but it is breaking away from certain interpretations that have been given to documents under mainstream documents that Africans are saying we do not agree to. So let's look a bit at the content again. I looked at, for example, the draft clause, so let me just use article instead of clause so that it comes alive. Under objectives, you would realize that under Article 2.4, it captures something like to review, reverse, and or nullify all existing policies or documents that speak about the issues that we disagree with. SOGI, abortion rights, the sexual and reproductive rights agenda, and so on. But if you cross-reference that with Article 4.1, you would see that the Charter's intention is to target provisions in such instruments or the interpretative actions or decisions by these bodies, as I have said. So we need to align the two articles. One article is saying something, the other article is saying something else, and we need to be very clear. So some clarity of provisions in the current Charter is important. Now let me comment on content regarding cultural and religious values. Cultural and religious values form the basis of belief and practice. Belief and practice. These are captured rightfully in the Charter as rights in the ICESCR, International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, and the African Charter. If you look at Article 5 in this draft Charter, these rights are made reference to so that it strengthens the normative frame of the Charter that we are dealing with, okay? But if we capture, for example, a statement or a provision that links what we have said about cultural values and ideals to what we have already captured under the existing charters as rights of practice, of belief, it strengthens the normative framework. Simply, I'm just saying that you capture the kind of language that you can take to courts on. Because when people come against you, they'll come with the language that has been accepted and adopted in documents. So your language must also reflect some of what you can stand on and use to make your arguments. Please, I hope I'm clear. So that is something that I think is very important. It will take away this thing about, when you talk about African culture and ideals is vague and so on, even though they have been specified in the Charter, but you want to take away some of that kind of criticism. And also, cultural and religious values form the basis of, yes, I've talked about that. If you look at Article 5 again, on judicial decisions on religious and cultural values and practices, you would see, for example, that because of the existence of negative aspects of cultural, traditional, religious norms and practices, there needs to be some terminology to capture the essence of our positive values, cultural beliefs, and practices. So that terminology you don't find in our current draft. We need to capture some of that and make sure that it conforms with the rights that guarantee, the right to believe, the right to practice your culture without much trouble or much interference and so on. So there's a need to also work on that. Religious liberty is captured in the Charter in Article 5.5. This is positive for normative value. So it mentioned that language, religious liberty. You can say freedom to religion and all of those things. It is positive for normative value as a freedom or a right to be protected. It is also a good example of how we should capture and frame the cultural and religious values text into the kind that you can use to argue your case when it comes before certain bodies, should there be disagreements. Now, let me also comment on the necessity of protecting women, girls, and persons with disabilities, which is in but not as strong. Because of the disagreements with an obvious breakaway of this charter from provisions and instruments, as well as interpretations by mandated bodies that are in line with the SOGI, SRHR abortion rights agenda, which undermine family and values, the charter appears to carefully avoid incorporation of critical, well-documented issues of well-known infractions to women, girls, and persons with disabilities. There's mention of equality of men and women and non-discrimination on the basis of sex. And as important as these are, they are still not adequate, and in a way it weakens the arguments we try to make that we want to ensure that there's non-discrimination on the basis of sex and equality on the basis of equality between men and women. So you need to also put in things that make people understand that you are backing them up where they are. This has been intimated by some well-meaning presenters in this forum, including the Speaker of Ghana's Parliament, that gender equality and protection of women and girls is sine qua non to the strengthening of all African families, albeit that these are promoted in accordance with Africa's values, understanding, and agenda. It is highly recommended that the drafters consider how to make these concerns a part of the charter in clear and unambiguous language. This consideration also, and this is important, may have an impact, and not even may, will have an impact on the current discourse on the proposed convention to eliminate all forms of violence against women and girls, the AU Convention, and the current discourse on it. If this charter is able to frame something that is very clear and unambiguous, it will influence the current discourse on the CVALG, as some of you may know, because it is an agenda on the AU, in the AU arena right now, talking about its validity in relation to values and its enforceability. Okay, now possible treaties and interpretative clashes. Treaty and interpretative clashes are possible. That's one. Even as we speak now, I'm sure there are people who are gearing up to go to court. You can ask my friend sitting here, Mr. Moses Fuamweni. Especially with instruments like CEDAW and Maputo, because of the interpretations that have been given to certain articles and provisions in these documents. This may not be the only documents that the charter may come into clash with. Now, the charter has framed its institutions in such a way that there will be a committee that has the mandate to interpret and the mandate to investigate cases. If any issues come before the committee that is formed under this charter that has to do with investigation or interpretation, it's fine, because it is going to interpret the charter by themselves. But if the issues are taken to other arena, like the African Commission, or it goes before other international bodies mandated to pronounce decisions on these cases, that is where the inbuilt protection in this draft will not have much use for us. I hope you get the difference. The charter has a committee that is going to implement it. It does many things, you know, convenings and educating and diplomacy and all of that. But two of its critical mandates are to interpret matters concerning provisions concerning matters brought to it under this charter. It also can investigate in the draft document. But if those matters come from state parties to it, then it's fine, because it can use its own power to investigate or to interpret. But if people take the matters to other places, then the argument will be, how are we going to argue with what we have? And that is where I say that beyond what we are doing here, and I think I was talking to somebody about it, is to start thinking about, let me go to the very final part because I mentioned it, about thought leadership and legal scholarship and training that is aligned with values. Because when it goes before other bodies, then it will depend on the strength, the normative understanding and the strength of the lawyers that are going to defend the matters before the other bodies. because they will not be bound by what has been said under this treaty, but bound by their own decisions. And as I talked about, there's a general international interpretative framework. So these are things that we need to be mindful about. In the Charter, there are comprehensive, built-in protection under Article 11, as I've already said. So this one is the setup of the committee, an 11-member committee that is supposed to do a lot of things to make sure the Charter is implemented and enforced. And this is very good. So what are my technical recommendations? First, we need to review the draft with recommended changes as proposed in this conference on the different sections and as necessary. So, for example, the issues around tech, AI, data sovereignty, we need to capture it clearly in this convention, in this draft. We also have to reduce the language of encouragement. When you come to the economic development sovereignty provisions, a lot of the language uses, we will encourage. Encourage is as good as telling me when you feel like it, you can do it. That kind of language does not actually hold states in the kind of compliance modes that they should be in when it comes to these things. So reduce language of encouragement to enhance active commitment of states, especially in sovereignty over economic development provisions. Then submit to the final, hopefully, technical consultation to firm up the draft, because it needs to get to the AU chairperson. Submit the draft before the AU chairperson, and we will propose at this forum that once it gets to the AU, okay, and once it is submitted to the AU chairperson, the AU must commit to draft protocols immediately. We are not going to adopt a convention and come back 1, 4, 5, 6 years to start drafting protocols, because the protocols actually provide for the binding aspects on nations once they are acceded to or signed. So we need the protocols on health, education, natural resources, and the other areas being drafted at the AU level to accompany the draft as it is being considered.
Two minutes for you.
I'm done, actually. Okay, so more work ahead. Pursue deeper buy-in by African leaders and states through diplomacy, advocacy, grassroots sensitization, broad mobilization of allies towards ratification. Solidarity building is important, alliance building is important, collaboration with others, like-minded actors, thought leadership, critical legal scholarship for Africa at this time is very, very necessary. And practical training aligned with the values. This charter promises radical overhaul of African systems, structures, and mindsets that have served to maintain neocolonialism, corruption, and erosion of positive ideals and values for families and people. Africa must rise to the occasion. Our leaders at the AU must rise to the occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Agora vamos convidar via online a doutora, a embaixadora Ama.
Excellencies, honorable speakers and members of parliament, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the African Union Commission, I extend warm greetings and sincere appreciation to the organizers of the 4th Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family Values and Sovereignty. I commend you highly for convening this important platform. African families are navigating profound demographic, social, economic, technological, and cultural transformations that are reshaping the fabric of our societies. This statement is anchored in the theme, Family Values and Sovereignty in Contemporary Africa, a lens through which we examine the foundations of our social fabric and the continent's right to define its own path. Honorable members, this conference is both timely and necessary. Across our continent, the family remains the first school of values, the first space of care, the first line of protection, and the first community in which dignity, responsibility, identity, and solidarity are nurtured. As an African proverb reminds us, a family is like a forest. When you are outside it, it is dense. When you are inside it, each tree has its place. Our task, therefore, is to ensure that every tree has space to grow. Every child has a foundation of care. Every woman and man can live in dignity, and every older person and person with disability is protected, valued, and included. The African Union recognizes the family as the foundational institution for social cohesion, human development, intergenerational solidarity, and the transmission of values. Strong strengthen communities. Strong communities strengthen African Union. Investing in families is therefore not only a social obligation, it is a strategic investment in human capital, peace, and sustainable development. This conviction is firmly anchored in 18 of the African Charter on Human
Creio que estamos com dificuldades técnicas.
Recording in progress.
The dignity and well-being of all members of the family. In the same spirit, the African Union has established a robust normative and policy architecture to support member states in promoting and protecting families. Central among these is the African Union Plan of Action on the Family, which provides a continental framework for strengthening family-centered policies and programs. The plan of action calls upon member states to mainstream family perspectives into national development planning, enhance social protection systems, strengthen family resilience, support parenting and caregiving functions, and address emerging social challenges affecting family structures and relationships. The plan further recognizes the evolving realities facing African families, including poverty, unemployment, migration, rapid urbanization, demographic shifts, digital transformation, conflict, humanitarian crisis, climate-related shocks, and public health emergencies. These challenges require comprehensive, evidence-based, and family-sensitive policy responses that place families at the center of social development interventions. They test the capacity of households to provide care, protect children, support persons with disabilities, uphold the dignity of older persons, and preserve intergenerational bonds. These challenges require comprehensive, evidence-based, and family-sensitive policy responses that place families at the center of Africa's social development agenda. The African Union's commitment to strengthening families is further reinforced through continental instruments that promote the rights and dignity of women, children, young people, older persons, and persons with disability. These include, and I've already mentioned this one, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, the Protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the Rights of Women in Africa, otherwise known as the Maputo Protocol, the the African Youth Charter, the Protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, on the rights of older persons in Africa, and the Protocol on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in Africa. Taken together, they affirm a clear African position and principle. The family is strongest when every member is protected. The community is strongest when no one is left behind. And sovereignty is strongest when it is exercised in defense of human dignity, social justice, and inclusive development. Furthermore, the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, underscores the importance of strong families as foundational institutions for achieving inclusive growth, social cohesion, peaceful societies, and sustainable development. Aspiration 6 of Agenda 2063 envisions an Africa whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of women groups within supportive family and community structures. As we discuss family values and sovereignty, it is important to recognize that sovereignty and family strengthening are mutually reinforcing objectives. Sovereign states possess the primary responsibility to develop policies, laws, and institutions that reflect their national context while upholding the commitments enshrined in continental and international human rights frameworks. Effective governance of family-related issues, therefore, requires balancing cultural values, social protection priorities, human rights obligations, and emerging developmental realities. In this regard, parliaments play a pivotal role as legislative, oversight, budgetary, and representative institutions. Parliaments are uniquely positioned to promote family-responsive legislation, strengthen accountability for social investments, ensure adequate financing for family-centered services, and facilitate public dialogue on issues affecting families. Parliamentary action is particularly important in advancing social protection systems, child protection mechanisms, gender-responsive policies, disability inclusion, youth development, healthy aging, and measures that strengthen family resilience in the face of economic and social shocks. The African Union Commission encourages member states and parliamentary institutions to prioritize evidence-based policy making and to invest in robust data systems that capture the changing realities of African families. Reliable data and research are essential for designing responsive interventions, monitoring progress, and identifying emerging challenges that may affect family well-being and social cohesion. The Commission also underscores the importance of strengthening partnerships among governments, parliaments, civil society organizations, faith-based institutions, academia, traditional leaders, development partners, and families themselves. Family strengthening requires a whole-of-society approach that recognizes the shared responsibility of all stakeholders in promoting social stability, safeguarding human dignity, and advancing sustainable development. Honorable members, as Africa advances the implementation of Agenda 2063, the second 10-year implementation plan, and broader, families must remain a strategic priority. Families continue to serve as the first line of protection, care, socialization, and resilience for millions of Africans. Investing in families is therefore an investment in human capital, social cohesion, peace, and sustainable development. The African Union confirms its commitment and reaffirms its commitment to supporting member states and parliamentary institutions in advancing policies and programs that strengthen families, protect vulnerable populations, promote social inclusion, and uphold the values that contribute to prosperous, peaceful, and resilient societies. I thank you for your kind attention.
Muito obrigado, doutora Ama. A seguir, convidamos o Dr. Musa para apresentar, para fazer análise sobre a carta. Por favor. Carta. Por favor. Tem a palavra. Tem a palavra. Dr. Musa. Ok. Vamos abrir espaço para perguntas. Ouvimos duas intervenções brilhantes que dão-nos alguma segurança sobre a carta que será adotada pelas nações africanas. Temos 5 minutos e pedia que fossem simples, concisos nas vossas intervenções. Por favor, quem é a primeira pessoa que vai falar? Quem tem a palavra? Por favor. Excelência.
Merci. Merci bien. Je crois que dans les interventions que nous venons de suivre, il y a un certain nombre d'éléments importants nous permettant d'apprécier donc le contenu de cette charte. Je crois que dans l'intervention de madame, il y a un certain nombre d'indications et je voudrais m'associer un peu à sa préoccupation en faisant référence à un point précis par rapport à la rédaction d'un certain nombre de dispositions de cette charte. Je prends notamment le cas de l'article 24. L'article 24 identifie les sources normatives ayant inspiré le projet de charte, notamment la déclaration d'Entebbe, les communiqués interparlementaires et la déclaration de consensus de Genève. Loin de moi l'idée de remettre en cause la pertinence de cette charte et la nécessité de son adoption. Mais on a bien compris qu'il y a nécessité de peut-être d'améliorer la rédaction d'un certain nombre de dispositions de cette charte. C'est pourquoi je voudrais évoquer cette question ayant trait à l'article 24. Il vous souviendra que la déclaration de consensus de Genève évoquée ici, cette déclaration date de 2020, a été parrainée par les États-Unis sous la première administration de Trump et a été explicitement conçue pour contester les droits sur la santé de reproduction sexuelle lors des forums internationaux. Donc elle n'a pas un statut de source de droit international au titre de l'article 38, du statut de la Cour internationale de justice qui identifie les sources connues. Je ne vais pas les citer, vous les connaissez tous. Ça a fait l'objet de la part de l'intervenante qui nous a mentionné ces traités internationaux, le droit international coutumier, les principes généraux, etc. etc. Donc la déclaration d'Entebbe et les sources faisant autorité, plus exactement les communiqués interparlementaires, ne sont pas des instruments juridiques contraignants. Elles sont non contraignantes. Pourtant, dans notre charte, on les a indiquées. Deuxième aspect, c'est l'omission des traités contraignants de l'Union africaine. J'ai suivi tout à l'heure Madame l'ambassadrice qu'on a suivi tout à l'heure, elle a parlé de la famille, mais du point de vue juridique, elle n'a pas évoqué ces aspects. Donc l'omission des traités contraignants de l'Union africaine, des résolutions et des commentaires généraux de la Commission africaine, ainsi que la jurisprudence de la Cour de justice, la Cour africaine, provenant des sources d'inspiration, nous indique ici que nous amène à nous poser la question de savoir est-ce qu'on met de côté ces résolutions de l'Union africaine qui constituent quand même un élément important à prendre en compte puisqu'il y a des obligations qui figurent dans cette prise de position de l'Union africaine. Est-ce qu'on les met de côté ou bien qu'est-ce qu'on en fait? Parce que ce qu'on relève ici, c'est tout simplement le fait que on se contente tout simplement de la déclaration, des communiqués interparlementaires et de la déclaration de consensus de Genève. Tout cela, ce n'est pas du tout contraignant. Alors, quelle est la place réservée à de telles dispositions par rapport à ce que nous avons comme déjà socle des textes sur lesquels l'ensemble des pays africains qui font partie de l'Union africaine ont quand même donné leur position? Est-ce qu'on mettra de côté tout simplement ce qui a été retenu ou bien il y a moyen de trouver une passerelle entre ces dispositions qui ont été prises au niveau de l'Union africaine et ce que nous voulons faire dans le cadre de la charte que nous aimerions adopter au cours de nos assises? Donc là, c'est une préoccupation, question de normativité de ces textes. Qu'est-ce qu'on en fait?
Muito obrigado. Já está entendida a observação, não sei se podemos passar a palavra para... Está entendido, vai ser respondida pela doutora Angélica. Eu dou ao lado do meu lado esquerdo, se faz favor, pode tomar a palavra.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Angela, I think that was a very brilliant presentation. Thank you so much. I have a very short question. As councils, Doctor, what do you think we should be looking out for when there's a clash between the Maputo Protocol, CEDAW, other international treaties and existing documents, and our current document, which is the African Charter on Family Sovereignty and Values? Thank you.
Atrás também.
Say again?
De Quênia, acho que pediu a palavra a sua atrás. Acho que não, ok. Tá bem, vamos dar Gana, se faz favor. Tem a palavra.
Thank you very much. I am very grateful. Oh, I have the floor. Sorry. Thank you very much, our beautiful presenters. You were all fantastic and brilliant. Talking about implementation, you had mentioned that there should be a collaboration between like-minded persons. Who, in your view, are these like-minded persons? Is it the same Bretton Woods folks who we are accusing here in this hall? Or you have some other persons in mind when you say in implementing this, we should do that in collaboration with like-minded persons? I'm sure it's not the Western chaps we have criticized in this hall today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am very grateful for the insightful presentation from both speakers. The challenge we have now is that there's a very proactive lobby to to make sure this does not happen and to put in place too many impediments in our way. As a result, this group here must be extremely laser focused to get results. If you look at the Alison Bailey Charter, it is specific on what they want to do. We can go about, let me use the word advisedly, dancing around our various policies that exist and not take any action. But in the meantime, they are working, they are taking action, they are seeing results. What the Minister of Communication and Digitization discussed with us today, we see the algorithms affecting our children. So we need to be decisive, we need to be focused, and we need to increase our lobbying capacity. We need to strengthen the wording in the text, take out a lot of the liberality in it, make it concise. The battle lines are drawn. Thank you.
Temos o problema do tempo, temos ainda mais apresentações. Eu pedia que deixássemos a doutora responder. Se tivermos mais tempo, poderemos pedir mais duas pessoas para fazerem pergunta, mas vamos deixar ela responder agora, se faz favor. Please. Okay. Have a floor. Yes, we can use it. Take it.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I think all the questions are important. I'm so sorry, first questioner. I could barely get it from the interpretation that was made. And I would hope that he could write that question out, because I think there were some critical elements for legal interpretation that probably the drafters would need. I just picked a bit of it. So if he could write out the question so that good interpretation is made for the conference to consider, or the organizers to look at, I'll be very happy. As it is now, it sounded quite a bit like what Madam Kezia also asked about. What do we do when, with all these pre-existing documents, there appears to be likely clashes in terms of interpretation, in terms of the texts? I think that is a critical question that needs to be answered by assembling a group of people who would look at the text again. Indeed, this charter is quite radical in its departure from, agreeing to texts that have been reinterpreted by different bodies. And so let me give this example, in that I'll be answering the question that was raised by my sister. If you look at some of the existing charters, like the Maputo Protocol, for example, it created a certain provision that made it possible that where there is a clash, the interpreting body would look at the provision, the opposing provision, to see whether it creates stronger protection for the particular group that is asking the question or is challenging the question. So the provision drafts very clearly that if there is a clash between this particular provision in this document and that document, the one that provides stronger protection for the group in question. So for example, under the FSV, Family Sovereignty and Values Charter, we are looking at family. If it will provide stronger protection for the family, then that one must prevail. There are other clauses in other documents that will create what jurists will call an Article 103 kind of a situation. You draft it in such a way that it's not about which one will prevail, but you actually exclude any kind of interpretation, but that is a very hard thing to do because the lawyers will come at it very, very strongly. You create a situation where you simply say that what you have said in the document must prevail, but there is no obligation on the interpreting body to actually agree to what you are saying, even though you have drafted it very clearly in your own document. So do you get to? There are options that can legally be taken in answering your question in terms of the language of the draft that can be applied if questions are raised in international forums and so on. The question is whether our charter would want to adopt that kind of a language because it will be novel. We are not sure exactly how it will be taken, but it's a risk. And that's where I agree with our brother on the other side, that a lot is happening. So the strength in numbers, one, the strength of conviction, two, and the fact that you are ready to stand by what you say by trying to get superior legal arguments. These things, some of these things have been tested in courts where the judges would actually now, who thought Roe versus Wade would be overturned? After how many years, for example? It is the same texts that were used by lawyers on opposing sides. And one's argument became stronger than the other. And the courts agreed to it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we need that kind of thing because we must be sure the clashes are going to happen. The clashes are going to happen. Yeah.
Muito obrigado. Uma salva de palmas para a nossa apresentadora. Uma salva de palmas. Thank you. I think okay. Bom, por causa do tempo, somos obrigados a terminar. E é verdade que há mais questões, mas o tempo não nos permite continuar. Muito obrigado pela vossa paciência e uma salva de palmas para todos nós.
Obrigado. Obrigado. Thank you. Obrigado, Honorable Carlos Tembe and Dr. Germina, as well as Ambassador Amma. We are grateful to you for your contribution. I hope this will help us as we conclude in drafting our final chapter for adoption tomorrow. Having said that, we zoom to the last presentation for the day, and that has to do with the charter itself. And this time, I'm not going to limit the question because everybody has questions. We want to make sure that we come up with a charter that will embody everything that we discuss here so that tomorrow when we adopt it. So please give yourself up to about 8 p.m. No dinner today. On that note, I want to invite the moderator for this session. You have 45 minutes. 45 minutes. Honorable Shaibu Mahama is the MP for Daboya Mankrego constituency in the Savannah region of Ghana. He is the chairperson of Ghana's Parliament Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee and also serves on Appointment Committee as well as Youth and Sports. He is a lawyer by profession and holds advanced qualification in law, finance, and commerce, including Masters LLM from the University of Ghana and MBA in finance from the Montfort University, United Kingdom. He is widely respected as he contributed to so many constitutional reforms and governance structure. Prior to his election or re-election back to Parliament, he was the Assistant Director of Legislative Affairs in the office of the Speaker, the current Speaker of Parliament. Shall we give it up to him? Thank you very much, Honorable. To help moderator do the presentation is no other person by our own brother, the Deputy Speaker of the Kenyan Parliament, who helped in drafting the Right Honorable Peter Okponde Kaluma. He'll be properly introduced before his credential. Honorable Peter, you are welcome.
My brother, you got promotion.
Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All protocol duly observed. I crave your indulgence to stand on existing protocols to continue with this session. The last session for the day, I'm a very lucky man. The chairman has given me the opportunity to give opportunity to many people as I can to ask questions. So I'm a lucky man. I'm also lucky because I have only one panelist here today who will do justice to the topic. Indeed, the thrust of this meeting and conference we're having here is the ratification of the draft charter that we're all looking at. And today's topic, and this very last one, sits direct at the heart of why we are here today. So today we're going to look at the Charter on the African Values, the Family and Sovereignty. But what else are we looking at? We're looking at the content, the structure, the obligations, the enforcement, and importantly, the monitoring. Now, who else can do this better? We have today a man who has been promoted a minute ago from Assistant Speaker to Deputy Speaker. The Honorable George Peter Okponde Kaluma is a Kenyan lawyer, a legislator, and a public policy advocate. He's a member of Parliament for Homo Bay Town constituency in the Homo Bay County, Kenya, a position he has held since March 2013 under the banner of the Orange Democratic Movement, that's the ODM. He's currently serving his third consecutive term in Kenya's National Assembly and currently serves as an assistant speaker. A distinguished legal practitioner, Honorable Kaluma has played an active role in the legislative and constitutional affairs in Kenya. He has served on the National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs and has been involved in the consideration of key legal, governance, and constitutional matters. He's currently serving in the Finance and National Planning Committee and the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs. Before entering Parliament, he had an established and accomplished career in legal practice and academia. He was a partner at Lumumba, Muma, and Kaluma Advocates, and lectured at the University of Nairobi, Kabarak University, and the Kenyan School of Law. In terms of his education, the Honorable Kaluma holds a Master of Laws degree, LLM, and a Bachelor of Laws, LLB, both from the University of Nairobi. He also obtained a postgraduate diploma in legal studies from the Kenyan School of Law. His academic and professional background has established him as one of Kenya's prominent voices in constitutional law, governance, human rights, and family policy issues. It's gratifying to note that he's a founding member of this very conference that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a round of applause and welcome our next speaker, the Honorable Kaluma. Thank you.
Thank you. In our parliamentary tradition, when you want to amend bills, they usually come late in the evening when people are few. And that is so because the committee stage is the most important part of legislative work in Parliament. Mine is going to be very brief in terms of the task at hand, but because I'm representing our speaker, the Honorable Dr. Moses Masika Wetangula, I wanted to request that you permit me in less than 5 minutes to read his commitment in solidarity with other speakers from across Africa and the delegates here present on the matter of this charter. And because I assume you do, let me proceed. The President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, the Speaker of the Parliament of Ghana, the Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagmin, Honorable Speakers, Deputy Speakers and Presiding Officers of Parliament, distinguished parliamentarians, and distinguished parliamentarians across our beloved continent, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. Kenya's delegation requested to host the 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on family, sovereignty and values in Entebbe. But Ghana was preferred by the delegates. We now commend the delegates for choosing Ghana to host the conference. We thank the President, the host speaker, and the conference planning committee for the warm reception and good organization. As the first African country to fight for and attain independence, Ghana is the right country to meet for this conference on family, sovereignty, and values. But I think Ghana has also upheld the culture, and you see it in the Ghanaian attire, you see it in the warmth of the people, and you see it in the manner they treat fellow Africans. We gather in Accra not merely for another conference, but for a defining moment in Africa's history. A moment where we collectively affirm our right to exist as sovereign peoples with our own values, our own families, and our own destiny. The draft African Charter on Family, Sovereignty and Values is the crowning achievement of the series of parliamentary conferences that began in Entebbe, Uganda. It is our unified response to the creeping erosion of everything that makes us African. Our continent stands at crossroads. For decades, Africa has been subjected to subtle and overt forms of ideological recolonization. Through conditional development aid, international treaties, and global policy frameworks, external forces continue to impose values and practices that are alien to our cultures, traditions, and religious beliefs. We see this in the aggressive promotion of abortion as a human right, comprehensive sexuality education that undermines parental authority, and gender ideologies that seek to redefine the family unit away from the union of one man and one woman. The agenda often come packaged with economic incentives and threats of withholding funding, creating a new form of dependency when we are independent sovereign states. The African family, the bedrock of our societies, is under siege. In Kenya, just as in many of your nations, the extended family system has historically provided social security, moral formation, and economic resilience. When families weaken, societies also weaken. This charter is therefore not a defensive document alone. It is an offensive instrument for African renaissance, reclaiming our moral compass, cultural identity, and political sovereignty. Kenya stands firmly in support of this charter. The charter aligns perfectly with our Constitution's recognition of the family as the fundamental unit of society, our cultural heritage, and our aspiration for true sovereignty. As a parliament that has consistently defended traditional family values, Kenya is ready to lead by example through early ratification and full domestication of the Charter once adopted. My call to all honorable colleagues are, number one, return to your parliaments and prioritize the debate and ratification of this charter once adopted in Accra. Two, establish national parliamentary caucuses and focal points dedicated to the implementation of the charter. Three, engage your faith communities, traditional leaders, academia, and civil society in building broad national consensus. And four, build a strong continental parliamentary network to monitor implementation and defend the Charter against inevitable opposition. The African Charter on Family Sovereignty and Values is our declaration of cultural and political independence in the 21st century. It declares to the world that Africa has come of age. We have the wisdom, the right, and the sacred duty to protect our families, preserve our values, and shape our future. Let Accra 2026 be remembered as the birthplace of Africa's renewed commitment to herself. Let us leave this all united, determined, and ready to act. Africa for families, Africa for sovereignty, Africa for our values. God bless you. God bless Africa. And that is the message of the Speaker of the Parliament of Kenya, the Right Honorable Dr. Moses Masika Wetangula. And now, with that, you have our commitment. Where we are is perhaps the most critical stage of this conference, that we look at the content of the Charter. If possible, word by word, punctuation by punctuation, paragraph by paragraph, and if there are additions we want to make, this is the stage where we can make them. I know as legislators, we are people who deal with the substance, but I'm satisfied that behind us is a secretariat which has been putting together the various thoughts we have come with in this conference from the beginning of this conference to date. And that those views, I believe, are already being put together by the Secretariat in terms of enriching and firming up the Charter, which in our view should be adopted tomorrow without fail. I'm also happy we are coming at a stage where we've been advised on the technical issues we need to address when coming up with a charter. And so ours at this stage would be to propose, if you believe there are additions or things that should be deleted from any of the charter provisions, this is the stage at which we can go into them chapter by chapter, article by article, and we get convergence on them, because ultimately we want us to live here with an instrument which is truly consensual and truly African in terms of where we are going. I wanted to dissuade us as you pick what you want to deal with or address in your question from the fear that we do not need to contradict any other provision. Honorable members and delegates, we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It has not helped us to address the situation we are dealing with. And these very many issues of our sovereignty, whether in terms of family, whether in terms of preservation of traditional seeds, whether in terms of how we deal with this, subject matter of the Charter. We have the African, the Charter, the African Charter on Human and People's, rights. it has not helped us to deal with these issues. And that, creates, in my view, a very clear reason as to why we are saying these issues we are addressing are existential. They are critical. They need independent treatment. And so I wanted to urge all our members not to fear. We are here from various parliaments in Africa. Let us put this information we want to put into this charter in terms of addressing these issues we are dealing with together. The technical people, and then I would request my sister be involved, would ensure that ultimately we have them together and we can proceed. We are now being told about SOGI, sexual orientation and gender identity. But how did we come with sexual orientation and gender identity? Yeah. Some people met in a country in Indonesia, in a city called Yogyakarta, and they decided they are developing universally applicable human rights on sexuality. And what do they say in it? They say it is applicable to everybody, including people who are not there and people who didn't mandate them. Why, having identified this is essential to Africa, do we prevaricate? Let us put it together. If it needs interpretation, let it be dealt with, but even that interpretation will be in the context of us as Africans, because we are doing this for Africa, and we are doing it to address a situation within our land. And so without much ado, I'm welcoming you to the most difficult part of our conference here. The founders, and I want to thank Uganda, moved us to the third conference. We are at the level where we are in Accra. My hope is that we are going to leave Accra tomorrow with an instrument which will be called the Accra Charter in 2 words, and everybody across Africa will know what we are talking about. And so may I encourage all of us to make now proposals, whether it is integrating those issues on the digital framework, which our brother Honorable Sam George spoke to, whether it is dealing with those definitional issues, whether it is dealing with the issues of food security. This, I think, is a good opportunity to do it. And so you would allow me not to go reading the charter word for word, because I believe we all have the charter. Maybe just for the sake of time, to open it now to all delegates, including myself. If there are suggestions in terms of improvement, if there are suggestions in terms of clarity, if there are suggestions in terms of substantive content, that we proceed and make them so that our secretariat can put them together, collate them, and burn the midnight oil to cleanse up the charter for us to adopt tomorrow. And with that, without much ado, I want to welcome the moderator back, together with me, to lead us in taking the suggestions and the views so that we can conclude. I thank you very much.
So, as the honorable member stated, I think that while we do this, we need to remind ourselves of the core tenets of the Draft African Charter on Family, Sovereignty, and Values. And these core tenets are family and cultural identity. In everything that we do, we must remind ourselves of this. National and cultural sovereignty, healthcare and education, and importantly, oversight. On this note, may I now open the floor for contributions. I see Senior Moses Foreman up.
That is
so. I may want to start from there. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker and Honorable Chair, let me first of all apologize for not being available yesterday to steer a session. Let me first of all make a couple of comments. First of all, I think it is important to know where we are. And I'm happy that the commentary from the Speaker of Kenyan Parliament summarized it very well, that this is an existential matter. I call it a new form of slavery or colonialism. It hasn't changed at all. They're the same countries, the same people, and the same strategy. Let me start by the falsehood of the legal regime that they've been throwing at us. Oh, it is a human right. Oh, it is a lovely right. Okay, let's look at the law. There's a Vienna Convention on the law of treaties. Article 32 is very clear that we can't have experts, non-state parties, interpreting a treaty for us. But guess what? All the international treaties that are being interpreted to us by these foreign experts have been done through implications. Thankfully, the last speaker talked about the Yokohama Principles in 2006. So when you look at the UN Charter, the UN Convention on the Law of Treaties, the Human Rights Convention, United Nations Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, all those treaties have nothing in them that state LGBTQ, nothing there. All that you see are implications. Question, can you imply into treaties obligations that the state parties never anticipated at that time? Answer, no. And these Europeans, they know it. Now, so we're talking about the law now. I'm indicating to you there is a judgment of the European Court of Human Rights in 2017. 47 judges, all on this same-sex business. All of them came to the conclusion that same-sex marriage is never part of the normative law of international human rights framework, and that if a state party doesn't approve of same-sex marriages, it has not breached any international law on discrimination or equality. Question, where is that law? Have you seen that case? No, because they are hiding it. And the point I want to make to this particular conference, don't be fooled by the human rights argument. It is a lie from hell. Let me show you what happened. I'm sorry I'm talking a bit, but I would have done it yesterday. But that is just to give you a framework of what we are dealing with. This is an agenda-seeking set of people who are clear on what they want. And their hallmark is deception. And that's what I want to expose in just 2 minutes. This human rights business was told to them by a marketing consultant called Paul Rondeau. In the early 60s and late 70s, the LGBT movement was not loved at all. So they went to Paul Rondeau and said, how do we get loved by America? And he said, okay, do you know what? Because what you do and the consequences of it are so bad, don't focus on it. Focus on human rights, minority rights, constitutional rights, and all these rights that you talk about. I will refer you to a book called After the Ball. Go and read it. It is there black and white by the LGBT strategic point. So they know that if they focus on what they do and the consequences of it, you and I wouldn't like it. So when you hear them talking about human rights, sexual rights, constitutional rights, it's all false. So I want this conference not be fooled by anybody and say, okay, we're afraid because we're going to be fighting or conflicting with some international law framework. My point is, LGBTQ plus rights have never been part of the international legal framework. They were implied and they were forced into our law. So that is the sort of confidence I want to give to this conference.
Thank you. I think that you've made your point very well.
Thank you.
So now let's focus on content, structure, obligations, enforcement. As far as the charter is concerned, we want to invite individuals, if you have specific areas of the charter that you want us to discuss, you want the I's and the T's crossed and dotted, please, let's raise those specific issues and then we can deal with that. Thank you.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Monsieur le modérateur.
En effet, le Burkina Faso souhaite attirer l'attention de l'Assemblée sur la définition qui est donnée ici de la famille. À l'article 1, dans la définition de la famille, nous pensons que un type de famille a été omis, c'est la famille polygame. Par essence, la polygamie fait partie des valeurs africaines. Et quand nous lisons la définition, nous ne voyons pas paraître clairement la famille polygame dans les différents types de familles ici annoncées. Le Burkina Faso voudrait donc formuler un amendement dans le sens suivant. À l'article 1, après la première phrase, faire l'économie du groupe de mots, au-delà du droit écrit, les sociétés africaines définissent généralement. Donc la phrase commencerait donc par la famille est, excusez-moi un instant. La famille est aussi définie comme englobant également le système de parenté élargi, par exemple les grands-parents, les oncles, les cousins et les clans. Point. Donc, ajouter après la famille, insérer après la famille est aussi défini. Cela permet de mettre au même niveau juridique les différents types de familles. Parce que tel que défini précédemment, la famille nucléaire était mise à un niveau supérieur et par la suite, un élargissement venait ajouter la famille qui intègre les grands-parents et suite. Donc, nous proposons de faire l'économie de l'expression au-delà du droit écrit. Les sociétés africaines définissent généralement. On fait l'économie de ça. Ensuite, dans la dernière phrase, parmi les autres familles reconnues dans le contexte africain, nous proposons de faire l'économie du groupe de mots dans le contexte africain et de le remplacer par l'expression par cette charte. Donc, il faudra lire dorénavant. Parmi les autres familles reconnues par cette charte et pouvant nécessiter le soutien de l'État, figurent les familles, ajoutées après famille polygame, donc figurent les familles polygames, virgule, monoparentales, les familles dirigées par les grands-parents et les familles dirigées par les enfants. Donc, le nouvel article 1 et définition de la famille se présenterait comme suit. Au fin de la présente charte, la famille est définie comme l'unité naturelle et fondamentale de la société fondée sur le mariage entre un homme et une femme, y compris leurs enfants biologiques et adoptifs, soulignant ainsi son rôle dans la transmission intergénérationnelle, la solidarité sociale et la transmission culturelle. La famille est aussi définie comme englobant également le système de parenté élargi, par exemple les grands-parents, les oncles, tantes, les cousins et les clans. Partout en Afrique, l'éducation des enfants et les soins aux personnes âgées sont partagés par la communauté. Parmi les autres familles reconnues par cette charte et pouvant nécessiter le soutien de l'État, figurent les familles polygames, monoparentales, les familles dirigées par les grands-parents et les familles dirigées par les enfants. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. In fact, we'll have the Secretariat who's taking note of all that you have proposed. At the end of the day, the committee will sit together again and put that together. May I go to the third person who is available?
Sure.
Procedural. Okay.
Sorry, just a procedure issue. I hope that the members have copies of this draft, either in soft copy or hard copy. Because short of that, then we may be leaving this to a few. I don't know if everybody has. Can the Ghana team confirm that they shared copies with all the delegates, either in soft copy.
The English version, not the French version.
We had French, but I also want to propose, moderator, that if members are referring to a particular section, I think it would be good to highlight it on the screen so that even if they don't have copies, at least they can follow and see what is being talked about. But I remember during the presentation on food security, I think some very important points were raised, particularly the issue of food sovereignty versus food security. And I thought that looking at the draft charter the way it is, there were some aspects of food security in that particular section. So I don't know whether we move section by section or people should simply make presentations. But it would be easier if you moved section by section, because we have food sovereignty, we have health, we have education. You could just flash them and members look at them. It would be easier for us to move.
So I think I agree with you on that suggestion. So we can start either with session by session or just say Article 1. If you have any issue with Article 1, you can just mention it, then we move to 2, 3, 4, up to the end. Yep. Article 1.
Chair, Bishop Koske, having listened to the presenters in the afternoon, I mean, the last presenters, and especially the lady with the legal understanding of the same, and Kaluma, and you, the moderator, could it not be necessary that we institute a team to look at the documents, what is lacking in terms of legal framework and on what is required? Then it gives to this assembly issues to vote for and say this one is recommended, this is the standard, this is what is required, this can bring complication. She mentioned something about even after finishing and after adopting, at some stage will be subjected to challenge by anybody else. Now, most of us who are laymen in terms of law, but consumers of the same, would like to get the benefit of the legal mind around us. So can we have a team look at it overnight, burn the midnight oil, and look at the whole draft, and look at those gaps in this particular charter? Then tomorrow, we come and adopt it as amended, and that would be easier. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, do I respond to Honorable Kosgei? This team here as a secretariat, capturing everything that has been happening in the conference and all proposals we are making now. Our hope is that the secretariat or that technical team is going to burn the midnight oil, not only to incorporate opinions or thoughts which came up through the conference which were not yet in the charter, but also to ensure that it is an enforceable instrument. So I wanted to inform us not to fear that. Let us, if we have any thoughts, and that is why I was saying, let us focus more, not on the technical, but on the substance, the things you'd wish integrated or removed from the draft charter. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think the point which was raised by Honorable Sarah Pendi needs to be taken serious, because I don't think every member has a copy of the draft charter, but we provided our emails. I wish the soft copies could have been sent to those emails. We'll be able to look at them on the emails and to enable us to follow. So if the technical people could do that, because when we're doing, others are talking of WhatsApp, but I think the emails, because we could be able to open them, whichever, or we could do both, and we would be able to follow from that. Yeah, if it has not been done, then I would concur with the colleague from Kenya that they will do that tonight, then tomorrow we come, people will have, by the time we get to their hotels, we have this already delivered to our emails, and we were able to do. Because also, I don't know whether we have a translated versions to the other languages, French and Arabic, and then post them. But if we wanted to proceed, unless, Chair, yeah, I'm just concluding. I was just waiting for, because we are doing consultations. In the absence of that, we can also, in general terms, present the issues from what we picked from the presentations, that the technical people incorporate this. If it is not captured in the framework, like the issues we talked about AI, to one of the issues I wanted, it needs to be incorporated, the issues of AI, the issues on food, on agricultural sovereignty, because they dwell so much on agricultural part of it, they didn't do much on the animal and poultry. So we'll be able to just speak to you, and the technical people keep capturing them, such that by tomorrow we come with that revised version. We'll be going through that revised version to see whether all these things have been captured. And by that time, they will also be having a projection. We'll be following it from the projector, from article to article.
May I have our confirmation that we have the draft charter? Do we all have the draft charter? Because I'm informed it was sent to all delegates. I personally got the soft version. Do we have the draft charter? Or you need some more time to read through and see what you can improve? Yes, sir.
Chair, I believe this charter was sent through last year, and the expectation was delegates to this conference would have gone through the charter, and in appearing here would have come forth with observations and comments or proposals, which could have been easier just to go through clause by clause. If there is nothing, that page goes over. That was my thinking, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, the silence appears to mean that we all have the charter. And then we have directed, and I see it being implemented. The charter should be on the screen, provision by provision, if there are changes. If we are at that page, then so that the Secretariat can do the cleanup, we want to be done before tomorrow, which will be a shorter day. Why don't we have the suggested amendments, whether specific to a clause or general, like what my brother here has spoken about, the matters on the digital space, the matters on food security. If you want to generally emphasize a need for relook, we can do so. If you have specific proposals, you can also make them. I don't know whether you maintain, moderator, that we still go clause by clause, or we can take general. And I wanted to request that you also direct that for members who may not formulate their amendments now, within this entire evening and night up to early morning, you can still, write and forward to a number we can give all of you, so that they are considered and integrated for adoption tomorrow.
So I wanted to add that alternatively, if a member has an issue with a particular clause or a proposed amendment to an article, you could also put it in writing and then direct it straight to the Secretariat, who will incorporate it. It's better to work at it at a smaller group than the wider one. Okay, so that's the alternative. Presumably, everybody is supposed to have the charter on your phone, your laptop, or whatever. And so, if you've come with the amendment and it's in written form, you can alternatively send it to the email that we will be providing. The Secretariat is sitting and then picking that. But importantly, the discussions that we have had from yesterday up to today, many things would have changed. And those discussions can shape the nature of the charter that we are looking at. The health, the education, the AI bit. So if there are any issues that have been raised from yesterday to today, that we think that will affect some of the articles that we have looked at, please just put it in writing. It may not be extempo. Just pick the article, pick the clause, and say, this is what I think should be amended on the basis of what we have heard in this, or what you have come from your various countries with. Thank you. Yeah, Eswatini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Moderator. I agree with you. I just want to highlight that this is the most important part of our program. And as Africans, we are known not to read the detail. So it is important that what our dear sister, Dr. Angela Duamena, was talking about the legal jargon, the words that may be confusing. They advise the Secretariat, as you are rightly saying, in any other intervention that we have, we submit it so that we then go chapter by chapter. I think it's the most important part of what we are gathered here to do. Otherwise, to just take it, blanket, we may be shooting ourselves in the foot and opening up the floodgates of whatever we're trying to stop. Thank you very much.
Yes, you have the floor. Burkina Faso.
Merci, Monsieur le modérateur. En fait, tel que vous le dites, nous avons des inquiétudes par rapport au rendu final qui risque d'être plus loin de nos idéaux que de ce que nous voulons. Parce que nous pouvons avoir des idées contradictoires et on vous envoie tous, vous allez arbitrer ça comment? Donc, je crois que le mieux, si on peut prendre le temps d'examiner les points de vue que l'on veut ajouter ou retrancher et qu'ensemble on valide. On dit c'est bon sous cette forme-là. La forme qui ne convient pas, qu'on puisse dire oui, l'idée est bonne, mais ce n'est pas de la manière dont on veut. Donc je crois qu'il faut tenir compte de ça si on veut avoir un produit où tout le monde se retrouve et tout le monde a donné son accord. Merci bien.
Do we have any other? Yes, madam.
Merci pour la parole. À voir aussi l'air qu'il est, je pense que pour bien contribuer à cette charte, il serait bon de la commencer demain matin parce qu'il fait déjà tard et on est déjà fatigué. On ne peut pas contribuer d'une façon efficace. Ce serait mieux de la commencer demain matin et la terminer demain. Maintenant, on ne pouvait pas contribuer d'une façon efficace. Merci.
Yes.
Oui, merci beaucoup pour la parole. Je voudrais faire une proposition de méthodologie. On pourrait demander à toutes les délégations qui ont des amendements de les formuler par article et adresser par écrit au secrétariat. Demain matin, quand on arrive, nous prenons article par article et nous listons les amendements et on vote chaque amendement. Si l'amendement est voté pour, il est intégré. S'il est voté contre, il est rejeté. On procède ainsi pour chaque article et en fin de compte, on finit par voter la charte.
Yeah, I think we are generally agreed on that proposal being made. Yeah, do we have the last comment from the fair member there? Mm.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for a job well done. This is a draft as we are seeing, and then I am proposing the motion that we should, it will be wise, this is Africa. The continent of Africa is here, complete. And if we are passing this, this is an important document for us. But I think we all agree that this is an important document. And it will just be wise if we, like, so I think somebody has, because they speak in French, we are not carried along, no interpretation, but I think somebody has earlier on said that we could just run it down. I have a draft here. I'm just seeing it for the first time, sorry to say, but it's 32 pages if I'm not wrong. We could be running through it. We just run through it page by page, and then we all are carried along. There is no way somebody will say, I didn't see it. At that point, everybody would have seen it. This is Africa. And when we take this decision, when it's carried tomorrow, we all know we made the decision. We all took the decision. Thank you so much.
Okay, so while we agree on the various suggestions that have been put across, we still want to insist. I mean, having been doing drafting of bills over the years, it is so unwieldy and untidy to start putting this thing here for people to make their comments. It's never going to yield any fast results as we are looking at tomorrow morning. So may I ask all of us to turn to page 8 of our program document. And page 8 will give us the detailed email addresses that we can send our comments on. Let's be very specific on the article that we want corrected or amended. And so please check on page 8 of the program document. The detailed email addresses are provided over there. It will make sense to drop your proposed amendment. Trust that the technical team that is looking at it, I mean, have lawyers, drafters, and the rest, they will be able to fine-tune whatever proposal that you put across. I think it will be much more feasible and practicable to do it that way than to display the clause by clause on the screen. That will just bring unnecessary arguments. I'm sure one clause can take us a whole day here to debate on. Very well. Yes, please.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate all the hard work going into this. I just wish to appeal that a printout, at least, be handed over to every delegate, a printout, so that we can study over the evening and we can make our comments tomorrow morning, since it cannot be projected, because some people have access to the draft, some don't, and we are discussing and adopting it.
Yep, sorry.
So please have mercy on us. Some of us are even better with the hard copy than the soft copy.
Mr. Speaker will not be happy with you. We have moved to e-Parliament now. And so as much as possible, much as we want to have hard copies, we want to be very savvy with e. And it's e that has brought all of us here. And so this document was shared. It's so bulky a document that we cannot print copies for everybody. I mean, if there are relevant pages that you actually want us to pick out for you, that's fine. But we think that E works for all of us. Please, let's make do with E. Pick clause by clause or article by article. Just pick the issues that you think you want corrected, amended, subtraction, addition, and then send it via this email. Trust that you have a very competent technical team to work on it. And so those would have been incorporated, and by tomorrow morning, we will show that to you, that on the basis. But take note that it's not every amendment that may be taken on board. I mean, sometimes you feel strongly about a particular amendment, but it's impliedly captured in another way. And so the technical team will work on that and get a document ready tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I think that marks the end of our duty today. Let us all have those amendment proposals forwarded to that address. I personally will propose a number of amendments just on Article 1, the definition part, so that we avoid the over-descriptive, definitions which we were being warned about. And I hope they will be considered by the Secretariat and the matter brought before adoption. I thank you.
On that note, the moderator and the presenters are out here. My job is so simple, just to close you. Let me, on behalf of the Right Honorable Speaker, the second Deputy Speaker, who is a local chair, to thank all of you for making it the third day of our conference. Tomorrow, we will have a lot of fun after the adoption of the charter. And so I'll ask the Secretariat to give us an announcement for tomorrow. Thank you all for coming. God bless you all.
Good evening. Welcome to the 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values 2026. Obake.
Africa rises to shape its future through family values, unity and sovereignty. The 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values is here.
This is a conference that is supposed to bring together leaders from every corner of Africa to come together to agree on and also to look at the best ways forward to implement laws and policies to protect what belongs to Africa. When I say what belongs to Africa, I mean to look at African culture, okay? To look at anything like family values, etc., which is Africa, as against adopting wholesale methods or policies or laws or ideas from other jurisdictions which might not work well for us. Because, we have United Nations own structure when it comes to human rights. Then we have the African Charter, which looks at our family values or the community as well as the individual. But then when you talk about human rights with the UN, it's just the individual that is dealt with. It is so important because, you see, the timing with this conference couldn't have been right, because this is just around the time when we have looked at the Human Family Values Bill, which is also known as the LGBTI Bill, it is perfect. I think that we all need to participate as African leaders, particularly parliamentarians, so that we can create the awareness, particularly for the LGBTI law, and also to understand that it is important for us to safeguard our own values as Africans. You do not adapt values, etc., from other jurisdictions to implement them here in Africa. It wouldn't work. We have our own values, and that is what this conference is going to look at. So I am excited about it, very, very excited.
I'm looking forward to hearing from key stakeholders on how to strengthen and preserve our cultural identity and family values as Africans. Amid growing technological innovations, it is important to focus on key policy and governance actions that can position the African family and thus Africa as a whole on a bright path in the areas of education, health, the economy, among others. At the same time, it also calls for stronger ethical standards, responsible digital governance, and safeguarding of citizens from harmful digital exploitation.
With this conference, first and foremost, my thought will be, or my expectation will be, that there will be practical discussions, you understand, and a policy direction for the African value and family value and sovereignty. Also, I hope that this gathering will strengthen the dialogue on the family values and the family value institutions and preserving our cultural identity. If we meet, they talk, and in the end we are not able to get a formal endorsement for the family value sovereignty framework, then that would have been a failure for me. And so my expectation is that we'll be able to do that. And also, fourthly, I think they should be able to launch a permanent Africa Charter to be able to deal with our family values and our identity. You know, more so, at the end of it all, we should be able to have stronger communities and family-based values that runs across the entire continent. So these will be my 5 expectations come on the 3rd of June.
Under the theme, Consolidating Parliamentary Consensus, Advancing the African Charter on Family Values and Sovereignty, featuring distinguished African leaders and policymakers.
It is going to be looking at family values. It is going to be highlighting family values, okay? It is going to create the awareness for every African, for every parliamentarian here in Ghana to know that family values are important. Family values are values that have been with us from the inception. These are values that our great-grandfathers, whether Muslim, whether Christian, whether atheist, whether priest or Malam or whatever, traditionalists, at least here in Ghana, we believe that these are our values. Very, very, very important. If you move away from these values, or if you get them adulterated, I don't think you can say that you are a proper African. This is what defines us. When you go elsewhere, there are other values that defines them as maybe Germans or maybe Greeks. But when you come to Ghana, there are values that define us. So that when even you travel outside the jurisdiction and you meet a Ghanaian, those values keep us together.
This conference should, in the end, should be able to strengthen, you know, the African family. So we don't have interrupted or borrowed identity and cultures determining what our life should be. For every society, the foundation of it becomes upon which you build. And I think having a strong family value, a policy for Africans written by Africans, I think will go a long way. And also, the Charter, I believe, will be able to help our children grow in a manner that
depicts their origination as Africans. You know? And once we have a policy document that directs the path, then it becomes easier for every African person, African country, to also base their laws and policies on that. So then we can be seen and found as Africans. You go to places and say, I'm African American, British American, this, but we are indigenous Africans. And so I believe that such a charter will also help shape the formation and the foundation for an Africa which will be stronger even in the future.
As we are aware, this forum is a great and strategic opportunity for lawmakers, CSOs, policy experts, and development partners to come together to discuss how to leverage the ever-changing global landscape for the benefit of the African family. The topics to be addressed are all relevant to the needs of Africans due to its emphasis on strong African family values, culture, food, sovereignty, youth empowerment, and technological transformation. And this could not have come at a better time such as this.
Featuring distinguished African leaders and policymakers, including His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, and host speaker, Right Honorable Agban Sumana Kingsford Bagdin. Join the conversation shaping Africa's future.
My name is Reverend Kwekwado, MP for Ablikma West, and I'd like to invite everybody to come and be part of this conference, because we have people coming from all over the world to be part of it. Come, let's build an Africa by we Africans. Thank you.
I am Tony Meir, Member of Parliament for Odotobri in the Ashanti region, and I'm inviting all stakeholders, particularly parliamentarians, as well as other stakeholders from the Aegis Department, from the Legal Aid, from SHRAJ, Office of the Special Prosecutor, from the Chieftaincy, etc., to come for this fourth Inter-Parliamentary Conference. We expect to see you all there.
Hello everyone, my name is Rita Nao Dolisoa, Member of Parliament for the Good People of Dadikotopong, and also a Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. I'm also a member of the Parliamentary Christian Fellowship, and I'm really excited to be part of the upcoming African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family Sovereignty and Values. We can't wait to have you. It's happening live in Parliament from the 3rd of June to the 6th of June. Come one, come all.
Africa rises to shape its future through family values, unity, and sovereignty. The 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty, and Values is here.
Some cultural and traditional norms can be used to justify some practices that undermine human rights. In African settings, there's been several instances where some communities have used this particular mention could be child marriages in some cultures where they feel that as part of their culture, children can be given out into marriage. There's been several instances again when it comes to witchcraft accusations in several communities. Vulnerable women have been accused of being witches, and there's also been several other norms like female genital mutilation, and all these have been used to justify why society should continue to practice these things. But these things violate our fundamental human rights as a people, and as a parliament, what we can do now, we have the Human Rights Committee of Ghana's Parliament, we have the Gender Committee, which is all advocating for ensuring that the rights of our people are protected. One of the key things that this Family Values Conference will seek to do As we all know, the family across Africa, family is a foundational unit of our society. And within a family system, it's where we learn some of our values, some of our morals from. And I believe that this conference coming to Ghana this time and Ghana hosting, we believe that it would bring all the key stakeholders that matter when it comes to promoting family values. We'll be able to bring them together so that we would, as parliamentarians across Africa, be able to help make policy recommendations that will shape the family values within our African system. On behalf of the Human Rights Committee of Ghana's Parliament, I'd like to welcome all delegates for this Family Values Conference to Accra and to Ghana in general. I would want us to use this very important conference to come and engage in a very meaningful dialogue on how we can preserve our African values and also how we can also learn from each other as colleagues, colleague parliamentarians, and also learn from the different experiences from across Africa and experiences that will help shape family value systems across Africa. And on behalf of Ghana's Parliament, I wish to welcome you all.
Africa rises to shape its future through family values, unity and sovereignty. The 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values is here.
I'm extremely excited that Ghana offered to host this conference this particular year, and I'm extremely happy that the government of Ghana, working with the Parliament of Ghana, have moved to actually own this conference, and we are moving closely into discussing the draft charter which we adopted at the last conference that was held in May in Uganda. We want to have a charter that will guide our African people regarding the families, regarding our values as a people, but also the African sovereignty, because we had our colonial masters. We talk about independence, but we are not independent as we still speak. There is still a lot of reliance on foreign support, and yet Africa is endowed with various natural resources. So we must take these opportunities, utilize our natural resources to actually fund programs in health, programs like in agriculture, our road sector, and so on. So Africa is a rich continent. It's time for us as African people to actually come together, unite, and foster this unity amongst ourselves.
Consolidating parliamentary consensus, advancing the African Charter on family values and sovereignty.
I want to thank, first of all, the Parliament of Ghana for having passed recently the Sexual Rights and Family Bill, because that is a step in the right direction in ensuring that we protect the family values. And I want to appeal to the Ghanaian people to support the present government as it moves into asserting its sovereign rights.
Africa rises to shape its future through family values, unity and sovereignty. The 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values is here.
I wish to congratulate all participants from the various countries of Africa, and I thank God that Ghana happened to be the country to be chosen for such a wonderful program, and also to congratulate the Speaker of Parliament of Ghana. I love that man so much, but we've never met personally. So congratulations, sir, for being the one to host such a wonderful activity. Now, coming back to your question, expectations. Anytime I wake up in the morning, one prayer I offer to God is waiting for the day the whole of Africa, especially the so-called Black Africa, will wake up as one country, loving each other, being there for each other, appreciating who we are, because we discover who we are. So I believe strongly that this conference is going to go a long way to let us have an identified mission, a purpose, and that is to go back to our academic curriculum and see what do we have there that is raising a generation that are not proud of the Africa they come from. That is raising a generation that will always think anything from Europe is better than anything from Africa. Anything from America is better than Africa. So at the end of the day, they come out as graduates, but with the desire to belong to a place they are not even accepted. I once was in the US, I wouldn't mention which state, and I saw a Black American saying so many bad things about me. I looked at him and I smiled. And then his friend was like, why was I smiling? And I said, it's because I'm coming from a place I am accepted and celebrated because that is my home. And you, where you claim to be yours, you are even not accepted. And you think you're better than I am. It's educational structure. So I pray that this conference will revisit the curriculum, how we are educating ourselves. Let's put back the value of being African in our education so they will not graduate with the desire that I'm graduating to get out, but rather I'm graduating to make Africa better. And I believe strongly that at the end of it all, we would have ourselves to celebrate that yes, we brought out something good and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, the Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values is a very important program for Africa and for that matter for Ghana. My expectations are that it will bring us clarity in terms of the place of the family and the role of the family in building the society. I'm expecting that participants will come with the expectation that the cultural values which we have, which God has given us and which keeps our society together, those cultural values will be further pursued and improved. You know, we will unite in articulating these values and we'll work together to promote it so that the family will continue to be the basis of society, and the sovereignty of nations will also be upheld together with all the development agenda of the continent. We will pursue them without losing our family sovereignty and values.
Under the theme, Consolidating Parliamentary Consensus, Advancing the African Charter on Family Values and Sovereignty.
We claim to be Africans, but we are being told what to do, how to do it, how to even live and dress by Europe and America, forgetting that inasmuch as they also are confident in keeping their culture, we also have the right to keep ours. But it depends on how we handle our stomach. If we are content with our lot, then we will raise our own to also look so appetizing for them to desire to look like us. Anytime I travel abroad, one thing I love about Nigerians, they will dress like Nigerians. I make sure I dress like African, to be specific. And if you don't understand why I look the way I look, come to me and I'll explain it to you. What are our traditional values? We frown on a lot of things. It's hypocrisy that is making us think. You see, can I say this? Education doesn't wash stupidity. If you are foolish, you are foolish. It doesn't matter. Excuse my English, but let's call a spade a spade. So it doesn't matter how high the level of your educational standing. If there is a deposit of that in your blood, it will still show itself. So I plead with all who are participating. Are you sure you are African? Are you truly proud that you are African? Then stand firm and defend the African values, especially when it comes to family. We have father, we have mother, we have children, we have aunties, we have uncles, we have grandparents, and we cherish them a lot. We don't live in a nucleus family. We live in a wide family. Are we going to build this, or we are importing foreign lifestyle? Are we also going to are we coming to this conference to think of how we can build up homes where we will start carrying our grandparents there because we see them as nuisance? When growing up, we the young ones, we enjoy going to our grannies because that's where we are treated like kings and queens, princes and princesses. Today, are we importing foreign traditions to make them look like nuisance and headaches? I want to plead with you all, sirs and madams, may we not copy wrong, but let's copy right. Anything that will pollute the African value, may we not follow our stomach to accept it, because posterity will judge us. May we maintain our African values. I know you're waiting to hear me talk about this LGBTQZYWW thing. It is something that when growing up, we frowned on. Today we are being forced to accept it because we wake up and carry our plates there. Can we live on what we have? When growing up, somebody's mother can train your child, and when that child misbehaves, they will discipline the child where the misbehavior took place. So the child comes home hiding because the child knows that he or she has done something wrong. It is all over. That is how we are as Africans. We are now importing, we are copying, and we are copying wrongly. That is what we see today. My question is, what Africa do we want to see tomorrow? And what are the traditional and cultural values we are leaving for children yet unborn? Will they come and meet the Africa we came to meet? Or they will come and meet the Africa we have erased to look European or American? The choice is yours, my seniors. Make Africa great and think right for Africa. And Africa will clap for you. Welcome again to Ghana, and I pray you enjoy Ghana, the place with the best jollof. God bless you all.
I think this conference is critical in mobilizing us around our common interest. Our common interest in our shared cultural values. I mean, for the average African, we all know that our societies are based on family, and the family is the unit for the community. So if the families are united in terms of marriage, in terms of children, their upbringing, keeping the family together, and avoiding people becoming so individualistic. I mean, places where the Western countries and other civilizations have tread, and it has created problems for them. We will forge together. Old people will not be abandoned, but families will be the place where our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our parents will be, and they'll have, some kind of communal place where they share values together. I'm expecting that together we will let our sovereignty not be tampered with. We will not yield to other countries buying our sovereignty with some pittance of development aid, and then we let go our sovereignty. But we will stand for African sovereignty in our individual countries, and together we will stand to promote African development under the AU.
Featuring distinguished African leaders and policymakers, including His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, and host speaker, Right Honorable Agban Sumana Kingsford Bagby.
I am Apostle Emmanuel Tete, General Secretary for the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, the largest ecumenical council in the country. We stand for family, we stand for Christian values, which also in most parts also connects with most African values, respect for the elderly, holding on to the family together, husband and wife living together under the same roof, bringing up children in the fear of the Lord. We stand for it. And I want to take this opportunity to invite others who have been reached out to that you participate in this conference. It is an interparliamentary conference on family, sovereignty, and values. I believe that this will take Africa very far. Don't be a dropout, be part of it, and God is going to bless us together. Thank you.
In building empires, in building global commerce, in daily life and in war, trains have been engines of change. To tell the story of trains, we look into the past, into the great cities of today, into the world's most rugged and most beautiful places, and into the future. Fast trains and slow trains, mighty trains and toy trains, the story of how in ways we know and ways that will surprise us, trains have changed the world. There is undeniably something very special about trains. From the heroes of books and films to the favored toys for countless generations. They often hold a place in people's fondest memories. From famous trains and glamorous trains to train sets and storybook trains. From nostalgic train journeys to modern luxury trains, we look at some of the most spectacular journeys on Earth and delve into what is at the heart of these machines to try and find out what it is that makes them so special. Paul Theroux, the great travel writer, said, "I have seldom heard a train go by and not wished I was on it." Edna St. Vincent Millay, the poet, was even more committed. "There isn't a train I wouldn't take," she wrote, "no matter where it's going." But why such enthusiasm?
But people see trains and they think, yes, we must have trains. We must have trains for a variety of reasons. We must have trains because they're rather